Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Burgundy Gold, everything powered by the Urban Sports Scene and Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM and 1340 AM from Hopewell, Virginia. I'm Glen. I'm joined by my co-host, George. Mo's going to be hopping in later. What's up, George? How you feeling today, brother?
I am feeling good. I am ready for this topic, especially once Mo gets here, because I'll be honest with you, it never even occurred to me that we'd be talking about Jonathan Allen late in the season.
Never occurred to me neither. Man, got a lot to talk about this, man, because you know I like this topic, right? I like this topic. We can talk about this thing. We discuss it. Before let's get to the particulars first, make sure you subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast platforms. Just search All Burgundy and Gold Everything. Also tweet us at ABG_everything. Hit us up on IG and TikTok on ABG_everything as well. Make sure you subscribe to the All Burgundy and Gold YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're alerted every time we post a video. All right, make sure you do that. Also we also streaming live on the Urban Sports Scene X account. It's time for the pregame. Here's what we have on tap for you tonight. We're going to talk about Jonathan Allen returning to the team after suffering a torn pec, right? Jonathan Allen returns to the team after tearing his pectoral muscle. I told Wole in the chat of the week he's trying to be Cody Rhodes from a couple of years ago when he tore his pec and finished it out in the match. But we'll come back and we'll talk about that a little bit later here. But George, let's hop on this, man. The Commanders open defensive tackle, right? Defensive tackle Jonathan Allen, 21-day window, right? Opened a 21-day window for Jonathan Allen's return to the roster yesterday. He was allowed to practice for the first time since suffering a pectoral injury in Week 6 against the Baltimore Ravens. Your thoughts, George? Your thoughts on Jonathan Allen with his 21-day window being open?
How interesting it is, because I remember when he got hurt, I was saying it, and I think we were almost all in agreement. This might be the last we ever see of Jonathan Allen in a burgundy and gold uniform. But here we are, right in the thick of a playoff chase. You know, maybe one, maybe two wins away from being in the playoffs. And isn't it interesting for a guy that's, been kind of controversial in some of the things he said, and he's not somebody that this new regime was involved in bringing here. So you'd think, well, maybe they wouldn't be too excited about him getting back in there. Yet here he is, and it sounds like not only is he excited to get back and play, they're excited to have him, which I think is the most interesting thing about it. Because again, he's not a Ron guy because he predates Ron Rivera, but most people that predate this new regime coming in, not a lot of them are in good with the coaching staff and with the front office here that we have here now. And yet this effort's being made. I'm stunned, but I am fascinated by it, because I really thought there was no way in the world, maybe in part because I didn't think we would be 9-5 at this point. I thought there was no way in the world he would be coming back to play this year for Washington.
I just want to say that it doesn't guarantee, just because they opened the window up and open up 21-day window for him, it doesn't guarantee anything, right?
Fair.
Just clarify that it doesn't guarantee anything. It just gives him opportunity to be able to show them what he can do. But it's positive nonetheless, right? It's positive that we see Jonathan Allen after Week 6, right? 8 weeks, 9 weeks in after the torn pecs, 10 weeks, almost 10 weeks from the torn pec to be able to come back here. And I don't care what nobody else says. It's all because his team is winning. You can call it what you want to call it, say what you want to say. He's a commander until he dies. He loves his team. No, this team is winning, all right? And he wants to be able to be part of this thing. If this team wasn't winning, we don't see Jonathan Allen. Back to your statement earlier, George. That might have been the last time we've seen Jonathan Allen with the Baltimore. But because this team is winning, the culture has shifted without him. Let's be honest. The team has shifted. The culture has shifted without him. I'm not knocking his ability. I'm not knocking his talent. I'm just stating the facts. This team has just culture, just the Ravens game. This team has changed. This team had went on a winning streak. This team had went on a losing streak. They built some things up. People have gotten closer together. Defense started gelling just a little bit, even though as Wole was here, they run defense is terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
They still started gelling together. But Jonathan Allen, if healthy, I'll say it here first, he could help this team in the playoff run, right? If healthy, Jonathan Allen could help this team in the playoff run because he's that talented of a player. My question is, how healthy is Jonathan Allen after 8 weeks after a torn pectoral, right? Has it healed up? Has it gone that way? But hey, only time will tell. George, here's my question to you. If Jonathan Allen is healthy and he does return, who comes off the field?
Well, I think what I would hope would happen is we have more rotation to keep people fresh. Like, I don't want Johnny Newton snaps to go to 0, as a for instance. And we've seen with Sheldon Day and we've seen with some of these other guys they've brought up, they've had some moments for us. And maybe the best thing here is to keep Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen fresh, especially for that fourth quarter. The thing I was thinking about as we were talking on the text and thinking about this topic is how much of a runway do we need to get to give Jonathan Allen before he's 100%? Like, if we're looking at the goal as the first week of the playoffs and we want Jonathan Allen to be as close to peak as he can be there, does he need to play all 3 games and we just start with a pitch count in the first 2 and then maybe and then a lot more snaps in game 3? Does he only need to play 2? Do we wait? Because Philadelphia is important this week, but out of the 3 games, it's the toughest game, and maybe the other 2 games are more important because if you win those 2, you're definitely in the playoffs. So those are the things that are swirling around in my head about Jonathan Allen. Those are the questions I have. I'll be honest, when I was hearing this, I'm like, I don't want his first game back being the playoffs because it's too intense and I could see a re-injury happening. But if he can actually come back and play in the regular season, that's a perfect scenario for Washington as far as I'm concerned.
He has 3 weeks to prove that he is what percentage he's at. He has 3 weeks to prove to the team that he can play. I don't know what percentage that is. I'm not the doctors. But all I do know that he has 3 weeks. Now, whether those 3 weeks are, he has 3 weeks to prove himself to Dan Quinn and to the organization to see if Jonathan Allen, if he could play. I don't know, George. Do you risk him injuring himself more, coming back too soon, right? Do you risk him hurting something? Because and here it is. I'll be honest. We all talked about it, and a lot of people talked about it. Jonathan Allen was on the trading block, right? The people thought about trying to get rid of him. So if you risk, if he's still on the trading block, if you Dan Quinn, if he's still there, and Dan Quinn said at his press conference, he gives his hats off and he gives Jonathan Allen much credit, right? For bringing his way back or getting himself ready to come back to his team and his organization. He gives him credit to do so. He gave him a 21-day window to make sure he's active, get on the active roster. But here it is. If you're Washington, you Adam Peters, do you want to take if you were thinking about, because his name has been around ever since last summer, right? I hear you, Paul. If he plays, he's off the trading block. But if they think he can help him and he can show some goods, I don't know.
Well, you hit on the point for me that's important. Dan Quinn doesn't have to go out. I mean, all Dan Quinn could have said was, the window's been open. We're taking a look at it. Dan Quinn went out of his ways to praise him. To praise him. I think that's key. For me, that's a signal that not only do they want Jonathan Allen back, they might be excited about having him back. So, and let's be honest, if you think he can give you something in the playoffs, I could give a rat's rear end about trading him, because the playoffs is the playoffs, and that's never guaranteed. And you get in there and a few things break your way and anything can happen. And I want to give him a runway. whether it's the 3 games, 2 games, or even 1 game. I want him to play a regular season game because, yes, those are intense, but playoffs is a whole different thing. I would be worried about re-injury if his first game was the playoffs. So I would like to see him against Atlanta or against Dallas. And Dallas actually would be kind of perfect, especially if they had nothing on the line and it was just like, you played it like a preseason game. To me, that would be perfect. But I don't give a doggone about the trade value. And I think Paul's got a point. If he's playing, if he's coming back from a pretty serious injury that you're basically not supposed to come back from this quick to try to play in the playoffs, he's off the trade block. I agree with Paul on that. And look, let's get in this playoffs and do absolutely everything to win, short of trying to play somebody through a really catastrophic injury. That's what I say to that.
Let's think about it this way, George. The Washington Commanders traded for Marshawn Lattimore.
That's right.
Marshawn Lattimore had hurt hamstring.
That's right.
Washington waited three weeks, almost a month, to play Marshawn Lattimore.
Including a bye week. That's right.
Including a bye week. Dan Quinn said he's not rushing Jonathan Allen back. If you waited 4 more weeks to play Marshawn Lattimore, would you not wait just as many weeks?
I mean, I think that argument is.
You already showed that you're conscious with returning players.
And they did that with Crowder, right? Didn't they wait the whole 21 days before they made Crowder active, as I recall?
Yes, they did.
Well, but again, I think the question is, do you really want somebody's first snaps to be in the playoff game? Knowing how tough, how intense. I mean, everything is turned up to 11 there. It's more violent. In certain cases, refs let a lot of stuff go in the playoffs. They don't let go in the regular season. So, I mean, you're talking about the trench warfare is pretty tough anyway. That to me is why, if we're going to do this, if we're going to play Allen and we got to get him ready so that he's, as close to full go as he can be when they're theoretically playing on the road in, let's say, Philadelphia in week 1. Let's just throw that in there for now, because that to me, that's why if he can't make it for a regular season game, then I don't know if I'm bringing him back. Like, if he can't make it by Dallas, then maybe you don't do it because you're setting yourself up for a situation. And look, and if he tears it again, you're not only risking his career, shoot, you're talking about you might not see him until halfway through next season, so that he can be well.
Besides the field, George, right? What does he add to that locker room? When he left, he was a leader of that locker room.
Mm-hmm.
He has not been in that locker room pro quakes. Let's put this as say so, right? We know he's been around the team. Not sure if he spoke to the team, but that locker room leadership on defense has changed. That is Bobby Wagner and Luvu's locker room.
Mm-hmm.
How does the president of Jonathan Allen break up that chemistry and change the dynamic of the locker room?
I don't think it does at all, because you know what I think? I think Jonathan Allen was tired of being the face. And like it or not, because he was one that was willing to talk, he kind of became the face. I don't want to say the face of failure, because that's not fair. But he was the guy that was most often heard from when this team was struggling. And I think that had to have been a burden for him to be in that situation. I don't think it's going to – not only do I think he will be glad to cede the locker room leadership to Bobby Wagner and Frankie Luvu, I think it's more about how excited will the rest of that defensive line be to have another really good player, maybe even a great player, stepping back in. And I think the fact of the matter is, we've had these struggles on the defensive line. They need help. And Jonathan Allen is definitely help. Whatever you think of him, you add a player that's got his resume and has done the things he's done, in this league, that can give that part of the defense a major boost, and it needs a major boost.
I agree with you. He's helped, right? He has definitely helped. And he also, and I asked because he brings back the leadership. He brings more leadership, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you have more leaders in the locker room and you have more leaders that holding people accountable, not just with their words, right? But also with their actions. I think if Jonathan Allen comes back and play, he's not just doing it with lip service, right? He's going to be a difference maker on the D line, right? He may not be in football shape. He may not be in football shape. He might be in good workout shape, and they may be able to put some precautionary measures in place. But you said earlier when we talked about it, George, it gives an opportunity to have a fresh Johnny Newton, a fresh Daron Payne, a fresh Jonathan Allen in the fourth quarter when you rotate your D line, right? With a Dante Fowler on the end who's been killing it lately, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you have to go back to what was teams were doing earlier, prior to Jonathan Allen getting hurt in the Baltimore game, teams will have to double somebody, right? They will have to double Jonathan Allen. They will have to double Daron Payne. Now, if you do that with the way Dante Fowler Jr. is playing, and the way that Louvu is playing, it's going to be problems if you try to double the guys up front. That means that Bobby Wagner or Louvu or Dante Fowler is running free.
That's right.
And you're going to put a running back on some of those guys? Nah, it's not going to happen. That means the quarterback has to get the ball out, right? We talked about what they may have to face in the playoffs, right? You may have to face a Jalen Hurts, right? You may have to face Matthew Stafford. Not Matthew Stafford. You may have to face Matthew Stafford, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, if they went out, you may have to face a Baker Mayfield again, right? Because
that's right.
Bay, right, at Tampa Bay, and which earlier the defense wasn't playing all cylinders the first game of the season. They wasn't there yet, right? But this team has evolved differently now, and so you want to have a pass rush, you want to be able to get pressure, you want to be able to be dominant outside of the ball, and if you can add a piece this time of year that can help you out, guess what? I think it's okay, especially a veteran piece. That's not going to cause you a problem. You ain't got to reteach anything to who's probably been studying, who's probably strong. I think it's a win if he can come back healthy. Now, George, and guys in the chat, do me a favor. What percentage do this team need Jonathan Allen to be to return? Do you need a 75% Jonathan Allen, an 80% Jonathan Allen, or does Jonathan Allen need to be 100% in order for him to return to be effective on this Washington team, George?
It's the end of the season, and the stakes are high. So for me, it's 75%. And here's the other reason that I'm excited about a potential Jonathan Allen return. This is his chance to play on a real playoff team with legitimate aspirations to do something, because we all know what 2020 was, and we all knew they weren't going to beat Tampa in that first game. Yes, they made the playoffs. That wasn't the real thing. This is the real thing here. And this opportunity, Jonathan Allen doesn't know how many more chances he's going to get at something like this, a playoff game in front of a real crowd, in this case, a road crowd, and that sort of thing. And I think his excitement can be infectious for the rest of his team. So for me, if he's 75%, let's limit the snaps if we have to. If it's only got to be 15 or 20 snaps, then fine. 75% is enough for me.
Let's go here, my man Paul. Paul says that he has to be about 85% for him. Paul says 85%. I'm kind of leaning where Paul's at, man. He need to be 80 or above. Got to be a B for me, right? Got to be a B for me. 80 or above is where I want to see a Jonathan Allen, right? I don't need to see an average Jonathan Allen. I need to see a Jonathan Allen that can help this team move to the playoff. And when I say not an average Jonathan Allen, it's prior to the Ravens game. This team they was just now starting to click, right? They was just now starting to get tight together. That cohesiveness of that D line, and everybody was starting to play and find a position together, right? Johnny Newton had just came and started to get in the rotation, and Jonathan Allen was there. So they started in jail, and then Jonathan Allen gets hurt, and we know where we at right now. All right, so I need to see not an average, but I need to see about a B. Roy says that he needs to see about 100%, right? He said he wants 100% Jonathan Allen, right? And if you get 100% Jonathan Allen with the way the other people are playing now, I think we can decrease in the playoff run against teams like Detroit, who likes to run the football. If that happens, right? And most likely that's if Washington is either 6 or 7 seed, they can't get any higher. They'll probably see Detroit in the second round. Depends on how things shape up. So you want
if they're the 7 seed and they win, they're seeing whoever the number 1 seed is. Yeah. That we know. And if they're 6, it's likely they play the number 1 seed. You brought up the running thing, and I think that's the other piece of this that's interesting. This team, when he went down injured, I would say the reaction of the team itself was muted. I would say that the team was like, well, that's too bad. They really weren't too broken up that Jonathan Allen wasn't going to be on the field because he was not their guy at that point. And I think, like you said, I think they felt things were starting to come together. But this last month, struggling to stop the run against Dallas, Saquon Barkley going off on Thursday night, the Saints running the ball on them late in the game with a backup running back. I think that's changed a lot of people's viewpoint about Jonathan Allen. I will say it, and he's not here, but Mo has been consistent about Jonathan Allen versus Daron Payne and who's what on this defensive line. I have come around completely to Mo's thinking on this. He was right, and I was wrong, and they need Jonathan Allen, and that coaching staff needs it. And again, I think it goes back to Dan Quinn went out of his way to praise him for a reason. And that their view on Jonathan Allen has changed a lot, I think, because of what's happened in the last month.
2 things I'm going to bring up real quick. Santiago Bond says this: I need Jonathan Allen on 3rd down, which is not a bad thing.
Absolutely. I think Santiago's on to something with that.
3rd downs could be key for him. Might be a way to ease him back into things. And here, Paul brings a question up, and George, I want to stay on this for a minute. All right, how does this reflect on Newton's progress? I want to say it doesn't mess with Newton. I think Newton has progressed well as a rookie. I think Newton has has spot moments. Right, he hasn't been terrible. Has not been terrible at all. And let's not go to the offsides, jumping offsides situation, right, against Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
that's what everybody wants to go to. Hey, he was a rookie. He made a rookie mistake.
And they had lost the game before that anyway.
Yeah, the game was almost over. I mean, we was praying for another Hail Mary, right? We was praying for another situation.
Another miracle.
All right. Which all you want to do is opportunity and chance. We don't know if we don't know if Mike Tomlin was going to punt or not. We don't know what the situation is. I'm just saying, let's just not define this young man's season by the fact that he jumped off sides in that key situation. But when you look at what he's done, Johnny Newton has progressed. Bringing a Jonathan Allen in now at this time of the season, to me, it's not a knock against Newton. I think it is one of those things like, look, we want to make a playoff push, and we need all hands on deck. And it's how Dan Quinn, Joe Witt, everyone spins this to make Newton feel comfortable, and also congratulate him on doing a job that he's done, because he's done a great job. Right? Well, he's done a good job. He ain't been terrible. He's not been offsides. Anything he put his hands on has gone down. So he's done what we asked him to do. So,
and I want to add to your point on that. It doesn't say anything about Jonathan Allen except this: he's a rookie, and rookies, even rookie defensive tackles, very few rookie defensive tackles come in and dominate. And I have to take ownership of this. I'm as guilty as anybody. I had outsized expectations for Johnny Newton, and I wasn't the only one, but I was one of the loudest ones on that. And we all had outsized expectations for him because, again, if you watched Big Ten football, you saw Johnny Newton dominate. You saw Johnny Newton terrorizing opposing quarterbacks. But you're right. He has progressed. He has gotten better. Yes, the overall performance of the defensive line is not the best, but he's still a rookie, and Jonathan Allen is still a multiple-time Pro Bowler and a 7-year veteran in this league. So bringing back Allen is no shade on Johnny Newton at all. And again, it's just another reminder that as much as we love some of these rookies, we can't have outsized expectations for everybody. Hello, guilty over here.
I think it helps, man. Again, I think it helps Newton. Gives him confidence more. I think it helps Daron Payne, right? I think it helps everyone on this line. We have to continue to see this line progress. Playoff time, we talked about it. Wole talks about all the time. Someone be like him. Teams run the football in the playoffs, right?
Dang, come right.
You're going to have to go to cold weather. The only team I believe that's left that has a dome on is Detroit. Everybody else is
the Rams. The Rams, although they can open theirs.
Yeah, the Rams can open theirs, but but you're gonna have to run football. So, and you're gonna have to put pressure on the quarterback. You're gonna have to put pressure and cause timing. So you want a Jonathan Allen, you want a Johnny Newton, you want a Daron Payne, you want a Dante Fowler, you want all those guys to be healthy.
That's right.
And you want to get the much pressure as you can. And so I think with Jonathan Allen, Newton's snaps are not going to get majorly cut. I think he will get actually better minutes because I think him, Payne, and Allen are a good combination on the field at the same time.
And it'll be interesting to see how Joe Witt uses this. One thing that I do wonder about is if like say we're talking about third downs, especially third and shorts. Do we every now and then maybe see 5 defensive lineman alignments with Jonathan Allen in there? Because I think that's something that ought to be thought about. Because again, especially if we're dealing with short yardage and third down, that is something that I've seen a few teams do and have it work really well. And wouldn't it be kind of nice to have Newton, Allen, and Payne in there? With the two studs on the defensive end, Fowler and Armstrong, you could really have a pretty nasty little front there with those 5 guys in certain situations.
You could. I mean, with Jonathan Allen coming back as a defensive coordinator or a D-lines coach, there's a lot of things you can do, right? A lot of sequences, a lot of combinations, a lot of twists, a lot of stunts, a lot of things that you can do with him because you now can open up the playbook just a little bit more than you already have. So I think this is fun for Washington if Jonathan Allen gets clear, not necessarily cleared after 21 days, right? They have 21 days to evaluate him, 21 days to see if it works out for them. They have 21 days. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play things out, how the Commanders play things out with Adam Peters. Do they not want to make a mistake, right? They don't want to make a mistake when dealing with Jonathan Allen. Because guess what? Making a mistake with Jonathan Allen might be a mistake that come bite you in the butt. All right.
No question about it. But again, I think the timing of this is really good. The timing of this, honestly, it could not be better. So I kind of feel like if they got the opportunity to play him in the regular season, they will. And if they've got the opportunity to ease him in so that he's not getting thrown into deep end of a playoff game and say Philadelphia, Detroit, wherever. I think I think Washington is and his coaching staff and the training staff is equipped to handle this situation really well.
All right, let's do the chat, George. Let's take a poll real quick. Chat drop here. Would you bring Jonathan Allen back for the Philadelphia Eagle game if he's healthy enough? Would you consider bringing Jonathan Allen back for this week's game?
I would love that because you literally could do what Santiago talked about. Okay, game 1, it's third downs only. Game 2, maybe it's 20 snaps. Game 3, maybe it's 30 snaps. And then you're like, if he comes through those 3, then he's knocked the rust off. And he's maybe starting to get, when we get to the playoff game that we hope we're going to be in week 1 of the playoffs, Jonathan Allen's going to be getting pretty close to the Jonathan Allen that we would expect.
Point taken. I think if he's healthy, you play him against the Eagles, right? If he's at that 80%, I'll play him sparingly. I'm going to take your third down situation, George. Put him on third downs, right? Finish on third down. Do I also limit his snap count, right? Um, on the end. So if I'm the Washington Commanders, I'll see what can he do in practice, right? Does he still have the same explosiveness? Can he still use his hands, right? Can he swat off? Can he move? Can he jerk? Can he hook, right? I want to see what he can do because what I don't want to happen is for him to go back out there and re-injure himself. And now you built all this hype, you built all this stuff, and it ain't 100%. Where you could have gotten where I need him to be 80. I said 80 to 100%. That's what you need. But you also don't want him to go out there and re-injure himself in a game where it's going to be real physical, right? Where he's coming back to a physical football team who with a physical running back that likes to run the ball, right?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that his body is able to handle what his mouth is talking about he wants to do.
I think that, and that's a fair point. Again, I'm perfectly happy not to play him this week because again, the way our schedule's kind of viewed, this is the week that if you are going to lose a game, you can afford to lose this one more than the other two. The other two games they're going to be favored. You'd expect them to win. So for me, I would really love to have Allen for Atlanta and then have Allen for Dallas.
Okay. You say so you want him give that one more time, George?
And then the way I look at Philadelphia, this is the one game that we're expected to lose. If we lose, we don't blow if we lose this game, we don't blow the playoffs. Atlanta and Dallas,
yeah,
those are the games you're supposed to win. So for me, if you have him for Atlanta and Dallas, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, Philadelphia game. If you lose this game, you have a 70% chance of making the playoffs. So I believe I agree with you, Paul. I believe we clinch it on Sunday, right? I think we get to that 10-win total and everything goes right for us. But we're gonna bring in the Jonathan Allen lover right now. Not I can say lover, man. Jonathan, he been telling us about Jonathan Allen all year, man. Let's bring him Mo. What's up, Mo?
Finally.
Man, my apologies, man. Some plumbing issues. But
I feel you, man. I feel you, Mo.
But John Allen's back, man. John Allen potentially back. I think if healthy, I think as you were saying, if he's 85% or better, that he comes in and he's going to help be a force with the way that the defense is playing currently. A little, I would say, slightly improved from when he last was playing. So coming in right now because I think like the season's starting to get to Newton. Deron Payne made some plays last week, so the deeper the rotation can be in the middle, I think it'll help them against Philadelphia, who we know is going to come with a heavy rushing attack, and what they're going to potentially see in the playoffs with the Detroit Lions being well, they just lost their running back, but they're a run first team and whatever. Playoff football is just a little different. But I would say, like you said, if he's less than 85%, though, I think he shouldn't go out there at all. Being the catalyst for him all year, I think it'd be worse for him to re-injure it. And the pectoral muscle is something he's going to use because he's going to engage in a lot of combat, violence every play. So I think it's something to look at, but I don't know if the risk is worth the reward.
And I think that's what everybody look at, Mo. Is the risk worth the reward for Jonathan Allen to play this Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles? Right? Is the risk of George says it doesn't hurt you anyway. But again, Washington, if you're a Washington fan, you want Washington to go out and try to win a game. And you want Washington to have the best 11 people on the football field.
Right.
And if Jonathan Allen 85%, should Washington put him on the football field?
85%, yes. I think he probably gonna play with some kind of brace or something like that. But then again, it's a pectoral muscle, so it's like your chest and arm area. That's too
right.
It's too much contact and it's too much pushing and pulling and tugging and imagine trying to make an arm tackle on the same side of the pec that was already torn. that just seems like it's gonna get re-injured
Yeah,
more times than not, man. Like
he's
so,
gonna stretch. He's gonna
yeah,
stretch.
more times than not. Like I really just think he should just sit out the year, like just for his own health and just for like even the like if in case they had some trade value for him in the offseason once he does get fully healthy, right? You don't want to risk that either because nobody's gonna want to trade for a hurt player if something was to happen again. So
See, I want to put Eric said this too, and George, I want you guys a good job, Eric. I like this. Here it is: risk versus reward. No chance to improve position. Still wild card, no matter what. You won't get a home game.
There's a big difference between I've maintained this. There's a big difference between 6 and 7. So
all right, break it
that
down,
I think the reward there could be significant. I want to add that. Also, I just want to before I continue, Mo, I hope you heard the rhetorical flowers and bouquets I was throwing in your direction about this particular issue earlier, because I was doing that. And I think the risk versus reward is Mo, the conversation we were having earlier, I was talking about the fact that Dan Quinn specifically singled him out for praise when he was talking about him and talking about his availability. I think John, and I know we can't take it through the player's view because they always want to play. Mm-hmm. But I think Jonathan Allen sees the reward is significant here for him because to try and come back, to even get to this point, 10 weeks after a pectoral injury is rare and very impressive. To even get to the point where you can practice, I mean, he's had to have worked really hard to get there. So I think Jonathan Allen is kind of weighing that risk versus reward himself, and I think he sees the reward here.
No, absolutely. I mean, with the kind of season that the team is having, it'd be hard pressed for any player, any competitor that is close to being able to get on the field, a la what we're having here with John Allen, wouldn't want to get on the field and help contribute to a year that he hasn't experienced in a long time. Like, he hasn't experienced this ever. He hasn't experienced the over 500 football team. They made the playoffs that one year, but they were 7-9. So
that's right.
Right. So, like, this is something that he just clearly doesn't want to miss out on. He doesn't want to not be a part of it. And it, for the reasons we just noted. So I can definitely see why he wants to come back. Is rumors flirting around about this might be his last year here and all that. So, like, why wouldn't you want to join this fray? Have experienced the best season that you've had. Also put yourself on display to either have your services be retained or, put something on film for 31 other franchises when some big decisions have to be made this offseason. So it makes sense for him to play, but you get hurt and then all of a sudden that was a bad idea. I mean, we'll find out on Sunday for sure.
George, your thoughts? What are you? Your thoughts on the risk versus reward? And I wanted to pull it up real quick, and I said risk versus reward. If the playoffs started today, Washington is at the 6th seed, correct? Right?
I think they're 7. I thought they were 7 still.
At the 7th seed, they'll be playing the Philadelphia Eagles again.
Yeah, but in
right,
Philly.
if the player in Philly this time, right?
The third
Washington is road warriors for Washington are road warriors for the playoffs, unless if they stay the 7th seed, they're road warriors. They're the 6th seed. There is a possibility they could have a home game if they make it all the way to the NFC Championship, and they are the quote unquote, and the 7th seed makes it. But we're not going to go through all that stuff. But they're the 7th seed.
The highest seed.
Yeah, right. They're the highest seed. They're crazy, right? They're the 7th seed. They're the 7th seed currently, which means they'll play the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Philadelphia Eagles 2 times within 4 weeks of each other, right? If you're looking at that and you're looking at who they have to play, do you still play Jonathan Allen? Because again, I go back to this. This staff did not let Marshawn Lattimore, right? Marshawn Lattimore did not play till he was like almost 100%.
Well, for me, again, the reward for me is significant because not just the chance to move up, but it's the chance to get Jonathan Allen ready. And by that I mean I don't want him to be just a spot guy, pitch count guy for the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I would like him to be able to play 25 to 30 snaps in the playoff game, but you can't get there. You just can't throw him in like that, having played no games. That's what these regular season games are for. And to me, that's what Atlanta and Dallas are for. Because, again, this game that we got coming up is not going to determine whether this team makes the playoffs or not.
No.
If they win, they're definitely going to make it. But if they lose, they can still win the last two and get in.
Right.
And the last two games are the ones that are going to determine it for me, especially Atlanta, because you can pretty much kill Atlanta off. In fact, you probably will be killing Atlanta off if you beat them next Sunday night, because I believe that Tampa Bay will win this week and next week before Atlanta plays. So at that point, Atlanta's cooked for the division. Then their only avenue is going to be the wild card, and Washington can knock them out of there next Sunday night. So and yes, there is a risk, but the trade value thing, the playoffs trumps the trade value for me, because this opportunity is never guaranteed. I said that earlier, and I'm going to say it again. No. You are never guaranteed to be a regular playoff team. We aspire to that. We believe that Adam Peters is going to do it. We hope for that. We don't know that. So if we can get another hand on deck for the playoffs, let's do it. Damn the trade value in that case.
Yeah. George. Tell them how you really feel, George.
How about the George? You just run a big risk though, George. Like that's the kind of injury that he can be injured at practice, any kind of weird movement, any kind of weird pull. Like, so all you're doing is heightening his probability of getting re-injuring it.
Well, but again, it's the fact that he has worked this hard to get back this quick. Again, I don't think that we were talking about this earlier. When he got hurt, how did the team react? The team didn't react at all. I think in their minds, Jonathan Allen was a settled issue, and he wasn't going to be here next year in their minds. And they were like, "Oh well, he got hurt." There wasn't people like, "Oh, this is terrible," and we're really disappointed. You didn't hear any of that. And now you're hearing, man, look at how hard Jonathan Allen's worked to get back. Dan Quinn, I tip my hat to the guy.
Right.
They want him back, and he wants to be back. That's the other thing. If he was already out the door, if he was already checked out, no way he would have made it back by now.
Right.
No, he's worked his tail off to get to this point. Because you're right, and this is where what Glenn talks about makes a lot of sense. We may use the whole 21-day window to see if he can physically do it.
Yeah.
And test it out so that he doesn't have a really bad re-injury like what J.J. Watt had. And I think the fact that he's gotten to this point, you've got to give him the chance to see if he can get out on the field in the playoff game.
Yeah. You got to be able to see what he can do. And I think you can do that in practice, but there's nothing like live reps, right? There's nothing like having live reps where the guy across from you is trying to rip your head off too. And I think that's one of the things he need to see. You can't stimulate for live reps. You can try everything you can. But I think he's at a point where coming back into this team, he has to be able to see what can he do and how effectively he can do it. I mean, I know they look at it at practice. Practice is one thing. A game is another. You got a guy yanking, pulling, pushing, cutting, all that.
I mean, everybody knows where he's injured too. So
right. Everybody knows. So we'll see here. Let's go to some of the chats real quick. Here it is. This is a new era in DC in medicine, folks. It is a new era in DC. All right. We know how the old staff and the old regime moved when it came to players being injured. I think this is a new era. Mo, what's your thoughts?
No, I mean, I think everything has been improved with this organization this year. So
absolutely
down to that. I remember years where the Commanders, formerly the Redskins, had plenty of players on IR for the year compared to this year, where it's been fairly healthy, outside of the setback from Noah Brown as of late. But everything is much more improved here. Everything is much more improved.
And they've already shown you they waited on Lattimore, We talked about this earlier. They took the entire window with Jamison Crowder, and now he's got out on the field and has been productive. So I think you can trust this. You can certainly trust this medical staff a lot more than the previous.
Oh, definitely, man. If this medical staff was around, Trent Williams still be the Washington Commander.
I would totally agree with you on that.
Durant.
All right. Obviously, Washington Commander. Put this up there by the Lux, man. Disagree with them. I think he wouldn't be here next year already. The staff really liked Allen. I think the simple fact they let him come back and gave him a 21-day provisional, whatever you want to call it, license provisional call, it shows you that the team liked Jonathan Allen, right? This wasn't no secret. Candy alluded to this on the pre-game. She told us to read between the lines, right, George?
Mm-hmm.
Read between the lines. What was
read your clues? That's what she said.
Read your clues. We all read our clues, and we knew this was going to happen and take place. Now, there's no secret, but he has to get on board with the program of the team, program of organization, and there's gonna be some days that he don't want to get. There's gonna be some days that he doesn't want to be there, right? Because again, you got guys who trying to knock your head off. It's something different when you're in the gym doing your own routine, your own rotation. You can stop when you want, but we're asking you, as Mo said, I'm asking you to stop Saquon Barkley. And you can't do that with one arm, right? Saquon is going to lower his level. You need to be able to wrap up, drive your feet, and put a Lincoln on Saquon Barkley, and that's what we want to see. Here it is. Let's move here. I got to put this up. DA said, just like when Cody rode towards Peck, he can't get any worse, which is true. Hey, DH, it can't get any worse, right? It can't get any worse, but we need he got to be 80% for me. Like I said, 85%. He got to be 85% to be up there, right?
Because if he's just out there and he's just a body out there, that's more of a liability than anything.
Right. Yeah. Eric Jessup says this. The clue is that they had nobody else.
You ain't lying, Eric.
No, it's true. They need help, and Jonathan Allen, whether he's 75%, 80 or 85%, or even 90%, is definitely help.
Yeah, help. They have nobody else. You got to bring somebody else in. You got to bring him in who knows the system, who could be a leader, right? If he chose to be a leader on the D line, and go get the job done. He got to go get the job. My thing with Jonathan Allen is just go get the job done. If you're gonna play, I don't need to see do-rag Jonathan Allen. I don't need to see Jonathan. I need to see Jonathan Allen, the Alabama Wall, Jonathan Allen, the first-round draft pick. I need Jonathan Allen, top dog, to go play football and wreak havoc on whoever they play in the next couple of weeks, right? But I need him to do it in practice so then he can get in the game. But George, I want to put it this way. They may only have, if truth be told, you're Washington, and you may only have two more games left. This one coming against Philly, the one against Atlanta. Because if you clinch, do you play your players? You can't go either up or down. And
I subscribe to if they do clinch after Atlanta and they can't move up, you play the last game like a preseason game. And remember, let's say for the moment Allen doesn't play this week and he's only played Atlanta. Don't you think you still need to get a few more reps into Jonathan Allen in that Dallas game before you play whoever you're going to play, Philadelphia, Detroit, or Minnesota in that 2-7 game? I think you do.
That's too risky, George. Like, that's too risky. If you get there and you still can't move the position, you got to treat him like every other starter. Yes, he needs reps, but like you said, like give him some reps early in the game.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Play it like a preseason game. You can get your reps into him in the first half and then sit him in the second half.
Sit him half, yeah. About to say,
right.
You don't want to. If everybody else is sitting down, he shouldn't be one of the only starters playing.
No. But that's my whole point is that I'm looking, if they've clinched and they're playing Dallas, then play it like the preseason. Hey, your starters play the first half so they can keep some continuity and keep their rhythm, and then you're getting them out and you're playing the backups, just like we did against Philadelphia all them years ago in 1991. That's essentially what they did there. That is the way to play that game if you got nothing on the line and you're either – and in their case, they were off the next week. But if you're playing the next week, that's how you play that game.
That's fair.
Yeah, I get
But
it.
I don't. One thing I don't know. I don't know that Philly is locking that 2 position. I think Philly might move up to the number 1 seed.
Well,
I think Detroit has some injuries, and Detroit eventually somebody's gonna have to lose in that division because everybody has the same amount of losses.
Yeah,
So
somebody got to lose.
yeah, something about the shake in terms of that. Detroit might mess around and be the 2 seed, and I think that'd be a far better matchup for the Commanders. Even though they would still have to go to Detroit, I think that's a far better matchup because their defense is beat to a pulp right now.
yeah.
I mean, so
It is the most Detroit thing ever that in the best season that they've had in quite literally 60 years, they have been hit. They have been hit by 10,000 injuries right at the end of the year.
Right at
If
the
if that doesn't sum up that franchise, I don't know what does.
And, you know, it's sad for them, right? You got Montgomery and Hutchinson and all these. It just starting to snowball, right?
Yeah, Carlton Davis, like everybody.
Carlton Davis. Just don't. And when you got Washington, who's getting people back, right? You got Washington. Look at the other end. You got Washington, who's bringing people, getting people back, who's getting healthier, getting stronger. Who they would make a run, right? So that's what you're looking for. Paul says this, and we move to the 6th seed. We'll play the Rams. Now, currently today, Paul, as it stands, if we get to the 6th seed, we'll end up playing the Bucks again. As of today, if the season ended today and Washington was the 6th seed, they play the Bucks. And if the season ended today and Washington the 7th seed, they play the Philadelphia Eagles. So, it's any race. That whole 3, 6, 4, and 5 is convoluted, right? It's a mixed match. It's going to change this weekend based off one game multiple times.
Yes. Yes.
So don't multiple game one time. If you're Washington, you just want to be in a number right now. There's no fear. I think Washington match up and play anybody, any other 6 teams, and they don't want to play them. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I think nobody wants to play Washington on this roster, right?
As long as you got Jaden Daniels, your chance.
Your chance. And if you talk about not playing Washington with Jaden Daniels, but not playing Washington when the defense gets a little bit better by bringing in Jonathan Allen. Mo, I'm gonna ask you this: if Jonathan Allen gets to the point where next this way, do Washington keep Jonathan Allen, whether he comes back or not?
Next year?
Next year. He's had 1 year left on his contract, but it's been rumored they're gonna try to do some things, may not try to do some things. But it has been.
They might ask for him to restructure or take a pay cut or something like that. I think with the drafting of Newton last year, I think there's room there to trade him. So I think there's going to be trade opportunities sought after though. I really do think they're going to try to trade him, especially right before the draft. Get somewhere around the 3rd or 4th round pick for him, or something of that nature. That'll add to what this regime likes to do, is to draft their own and bring in their own. So I think I'm leaning more towards he's going to be gone.
Yeah, George, here gone. Or do a good playoff run makes a difference.
A good playoff run definitely makes a difference. And I'll go back to what Paul said, and I agree with Paul. I think if he gets back out on that field and they're taking the big risks, and Mo is right, it is a big risk. There's no question about it. I don't think he's on the trade table. And I think if he has a successful playoff run, if he plays well, this team wins a game, I don't think they're trading him. Because again, I go back to it again. Dan Quinn singling him out for praise. Adam Peters is watching this, is seeing him do this. I think he's changing minds out there by working this hard to get back to play from an injury you're not supposed to get back from this quick. I think that says something. And let's be honest, this team, and I also said this earlier in the podcast, I'll say it again for Mo because he's here, their struggles at stopping the run, they need Jonathan Allen. Like it or not, they need him.
So I mean, Dan Quinn said it. Jonathan Allen working this hard, Jonathan Allen getting to the point where he wants to return, has gave him another star, right? If we doing little kids and we're little kids in school mode, there's a teacher. We're gonna put you a star on the board, right? We're gonna get Allen got another star from this staff.
No, that's a fact. When you mention it like that, that's a fact. Like
because he wasn't supposed to come back. Remember, the whole reports was that Jonathan Allen had played his last game as a Washington Commander. Correct. Now we're talking 3 weeks to the playoff. Jonathan Allen is back and he's trying out again for the Washington Commanders.
No, that when you mention it like that, I think that would change my answer. That he's probably back because that does show a resounding leap of faith in him.
Yeah, absolutely. So absolutely. I'll say, and I'll say this for this regime: if whether they've changed their mind or not, you at least can be glad that they didn't write this guy. That if they were writing this guy off, that they're not doing it now. That they're at least allowing the facts on the ground to change their mind and their opinions on this matter, and they're giving this guy a chance because they listen. When it's the playoffs, you got to be willing to try anything if you think it can give you the 1 or 2% more that you need, because quite often these playoff games come down to 1 or 2%.
Hey, put it this way. He is really betting on him. Paul has it right, Paul. He's betting on himself.
Absolutely.
Right? He's putting money on himself. Bet on me, right? He wants to whether he's betting on himself for the Washington Commanders or he's betting on himself for the other 31 teams that may want to go after him. He said, he's trying to bet on him, right? He said, look, he putting money on himself. It's a big deal. It's good. Good athletes do that, right? Good athletes want to put the team on their shoulder, right? Jonathan Allen, he's trying to do that. You need leaders in the D-line. All right, I'll put it. I'm gonna go. Let's call it a book. And we talked about it last post game with Georgia, last podcast. There are no leaders on that D-line. They're good players, but there's no leader on that D-line.
Well, to make a wrestling reference, we have our tribal chief and Frankie Louvu. We just might have added our Bronson Reed. I don't think that's too bad.
Right, but Louvu's the linebacker. But on that D-line, there is no leader right now. When Jonathan Allen, we thought Deron Payne would step up. We thought Jonathan Newton would go grasp. Here's another DH. Here's another wrestling reference for you. He would go grab the brass ring, right? He didn't go grab the brass ring. He's climbing up the ladder, but he ain't got it yet. So now the curtain comes, and maybe on his farewell tour, like John Cena, Jonathan Allen is going to make his farewell return with the Washington Commanders.
I love this WWF mashup. Oh man,
got somebody go get it. But it'd be good to see him again. I want to make sure we're telling the fans correctly. There's no guarantee, right? That's right. This is hypothetical conversation. There's no guarantee that after his 21 day being active, he has to prove to Dan Quinn, Joe Witt, and that coaching staff that he is capable of playing at a high level and that he's capable of playing in the playoffs. So again, he has 21 days to prove to them. And they said practice yesterday went well, but that may not be every day. So he has to make proof. Has to prove to himself and prove to his team that he is able to do so. And I think this team is going to hold him on the same level that it held Marshawn Lattimore.
Well, so they should use all the 21 days because 10 weeks is really fast.
10 weeks is fast. I think they should use all the 21 days too. But one thing I want to hit on before we get out of here, we're up against the clock. Washington Commanders in the Atlanta Falcons game has been flexed to the Sunday night game. George, you like that game being flexed?
I do. I would actually like this week's game to be flexed, but that's more for my own selfish reasons. But yes, they had to get the game they had in Sunday night game out of there. I do like it. I feel like Michael Penix is being set up to fail, but that's a whole nother conversation altogether.
We'll have that one next week.
Yeah, we certainly can. But yes, because let's just paint the picture. A chance to clinch in prime time, a chance for JD5 to cement his Rookie of the Year status with a great performance in prime time and put us into the playoffs, and against a rookie quarterback too in his second start. I think that's a pretty good situation for Washington.
Yeah, it is. I think so. I agree with you, George. I am surprised that this game wasn't flexed. My sister-in-law said, "Hey, they flexed the Atlanta Falcon game." I'm like, "What? You mean the Eagles game?" She's like, "No, the Falcons game." I'm like, "God, dog, why didn't flex the Eagle game? This should have been a game that's been prime time, right? Maybe because this game was prime time earlier in the year. It was on Thursday night. And they didn't want to do a Thursday night and a Sunday night game."
No, I think that goes along with it. I think with the game time being determined just as of late, I think they were weighing the options as how that was going to go. I think coming into the game with Kirk, I think it made for a good storyline with Kirk coming back to play a former team.
I'm coming home. Coming home.
Coming to play a former team. Also, that game would have been crucial to their playoff seeding also. So I think that game would have had playoff implications for both teams. I think that's why it got flexed rather than the Philly game, because no matter what happens, if they lose the Philly game, it doesn't affect anything. Philly's still number 7.
Right. Here it is. I'll put this out there for DH. Yo, it's crazy for us to be relevant in December 1st. December, I love this for us.
No, so do I. It's been a rare occurrence around here the last quarter century.
It's been
so we should enjoy it.
Should enjoy the fact this team is relevant in the month of December. Hey, Jonathan Allen. Let's wrap this bad boy up. Jonathan Allen, my final thoughts. Mo, give us your final thoughts on Jonathan Allen and his potential return to the Washington Commanders.
And Godspeed to him, man. Hopefully he shows something in 21 days and he gets to get out there and contribute to this team and be the leader that he's always tried to be for this team. Looking forward to seeing him out there because I think the team fares a lot better when he's on the field.
All right, George, your thoughts, Jonathan Allen, final thoughts.
I can't believe I'm saying it because, like a lot of other people, I had him out of here on the first thing smoking at a variety of times after last season, during this season. Jonathan Allen is a required player right now. And I think that that's something, and I think the fact that he is making this effort to come back shows me a lot and should show everybody a lot. So I am looking forward to welcoming and hoping that we're going to see him on the field this season again, whether it's in the regular season or the playoffs. Go get him, Jonathan Allen. Remind all of us that they have minimized and taken shots at you, why you got the bag that you deserved to get, why you were such a dominant player during your first few years in this league, and show everybody that you're still that guy, because you definitely have that ability. And people, and I will include myself in this, have been talking a little reckless on you.
Yeah, I mean, George, I think that's a lot to ask, right? I think you're asking for more than what he's even shown when he was healthy as of late. But just come back and be what you have been. Be a presence and contribute. That's what
I need Jonathan Allen to come in like Marty Jannetty in a tag team match with the hot tag. Right, they're about to give the Washington Commanders is about to give Jonathan Allen a hot tag, and he's going to come in and try to wreck stuff. Right, I just need him to stay healthy. Right, this team has done well without him. Could they do better with him? They could. But again, if you get Jonathan Allen at 85%, he can do some things. So my final thought on Jonathan Allen is I want him to come back and be successful. But it also shows what type of character Jonathan Allen has too. It shows about his character as a player, as an individual, that he's willing to help this team out. And there's some that may say he might be doing it for selfish greed because he want to be a contributor to a playoff running football team, which is the Washington Commanders. Whichever way that it is, right? Whichever way it is, a healthy Jonathan Allen will help this Commanders team in the playoff. Deluxe, I'm going to put the last comment we're going to put up is, hey, like Deluxe says this, man, let's get Allen, Eckler, Noah, Ertz, Chin all back, and this team could go a lot of places. You get all those players back and Detroit losing players, it could be an interesting playoff for the Washington Commanders. But just like I learned, my mother-in-law liked building puzzles. Anytime you build a puzzle, it always happens one piece at a time. So guess what? Jonathan Allen is the first piece of the Washington Commanders. If he comes back, hey, Dan Quinn said it's a day-by-day process, step-by-step process. So Jonathan Allen is taking the right steps. Hey, Mo, man, get us out of here.
Man, I need somebody else to do it.
I got you. There you go. I got you. Hey, make sure you subscribe to our All Burgundy and Gold Everything YouTube channel and like this video. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you share it with somebody else. All right, you've been listening to All Burgundy and Gold Everything, powered by the Urban Sports Scene and Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM, 1340 AM, Hopewell, Virginia. Make sure you find us on Twitter at ABG_everything. Hit us up on IG and TikTok at ABG_everything. Hey, make sure you check us out on Sunday. We got the pregame as we talk about the Washington Commanders taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Can Washington get their get back? Only time will tell. And Mo, they've been saying it all night in the chat, man. Hey, Mo, this from Paul. Mo, I need them Giants to go give us a solid, right? We need the Giants to give us a solid this weekend.
No chance.
Need the Giants to give us a solid this week.
No chance in the world.
Hey, tell the Giants to give us a solid this weekend, Mo.
The Giants need to do themselves a solid.
And another L will be real solid for the Giants.
Real solid for them.
The Giants are on the Shedeur Sanders watch, and I've said it and I said it again. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening to us here on All Sport, listening to us on All Burgundy and Gold Everything. Once again, make sure you hit the subscribe button and that bell notification. And we, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Peace.